Crazy man pandemic hair continues, and the reason is clear. All through this last year, when any number of people huddled in their homes and could not go and get their haircuts, could not go to the restaurant, and all those things, here in Sweden, things proceeded as usual, thus earning Sweden the fascinating distinction of being just behind the US and the UK in their miserable handling of the misery, which has not endeared me to our current governing coalition in the slightest, because that means that when the second wave hit in Sweden, it hit hard. And so, although the lockdown has not occurred, and I suppose I could go off and get a haircut and things like that, it is wiser not to. Several interesting details. We are still in the cultural mode where people in the grocery store avoid you because you're wearing a mask and do not avoid one another because they're not wearing masks. So as you can see, there's still a little confusion out there as to the nature of the situation and what we do about it. Granted, much more masking is available, to the eye as you're walking around. That's true. Slightly more seriousness. The government has issued, stricter guidelines for gatherings, and a number of other institutional things have happened, but I really don't think it's really sunk in, and I'm not sure what it's going to take for that to occur. Now, what are some of the other interesting details of Sweden as to why we have come to this pass? When I moved here, and was more than willing to inform people who asked, I did wait for them to ask, as to, the nature of things like healthcare and such in the United States. And this dates back to about over 15 years ago when we first started talking about this. I was more than happy to tell people here, and they didn't believe me, really. But when I did talk about things like the nature of mortgages, the nature of healthcare, the nature of public funding for school, and a number of things that were related, they would say things like, yeah, it's becoming a little more like the US here now. And that was kind of hard to believe. I mean, looking around, interacting with people, learning about finances here. But I do see their point. There has been a push toward privatization and into financialization. Did I say privatization? Yeah, I said that right. Privatization and financialization have been occurring in Sweden at a sort of steady pace over the last 15 years or so. Now, these boogers are very, very sly because they can always point over there, see, bad right-wing nationalists, bad people. See, they're bigots, and they are. They're short-sighted. Yeah, they are. So you can always point that way and go, ooh, and then talk about things like efficiency. Because, if we managed it like a business, if it was a business, in fact, and not, government, then it'll be more efficient. Right? I mean, you got to run a tight ship, and then you'll get taxed less. More profits, less taxes. And it sells. It sells really, really well. It is no help that American TV, sets the pace of their understanding of American culture, and that leads to people looking at the houses and the apartments and the lifestyles of allegedly, regular folks, all of which is impossible, incidentally. Just watching a show and kind of looking at it and you're squinting a little bit and you're going, wait a minute. So the dad's an EMT, and though they got these two kids, both kind of high maintenance. One kid has serious, financially draining, not covered by health insurance kind of, issues. And then the mom has no job and they live in that. And kind of lean back a little bit and look at the sets and look at the house and and you go, okay, and give up. So anyway, the notion, that the U.S. is comfy to live in and cool, of course, very cool. Kind of an ongoing, you get a much better idea of just how surrealistic the world of TV is. And when you see other people, kind of accepting that that's what it looks like. Now, in this environment, it's real easy to run into somebody who will look at you blandly and say, but the economy. And you are forced, I tell you, to inform them that since Sweden does not owe life, limb, and future offspring to the World Bank, it doesn't have to balance its budget. That's what economy means when you don't sell it away. You don't have to balance your budget. In fact, the purpose of taxes is not to pay for things. The purpose of taxes is to take money away from people so that they don't go and suborn the system that we live in. That's what it's for. Now, all this talk, though, of budgetary balancing and careful spending and all of that just warms the heart of the post-Lutheran soul. And so therefore you just have a real hard time getting past that. So anyways, that led to a bunch of health services being privatized or being twisted into forms that resisted management in policy terms over the last few years, and that has landed us precisely where we are. And so Sweden has been doing sort of a Boris Johnson tap dance, but much less vaudeville and more kind of soft shoe version of that, which has led, of course, to me saying, well, if we're not on lockdown, well, we're going to sort of well behave like we are to a very great extent. And so therefore, my kids are starting to look like little bushy bushes, and I'm starting to look a little like a scrubby field. So that is our current situation, and it's economic underpinnings, because everything we do and everything we see, everything we experience, and all those things have economic underpinnings. Seems so simple when you say it like that. Well, anyway, what else is happening? I do believe that the calendar has shifted over and that is important. I have plans. The plans include, first of all, I will be starting up doing an online class for an academy in Italy regarding role playing, which is kind of cool. And I also will need somebody to start helping me out on the logistics of these video productions for what I do in Adept Play, mainly because it's just too much to juggle. I actually like all the technical stuff about handling the videos and doing the editing, and I really actually like it. It's fun, but it is a lot to keep in your mind at once, and mistakes will be made, and mistakes on the front end at the production can't be fixed. And so anyway, a local pal will be necessary this coming year, just so that everything is shipshape going into the creation of the video. And I won't even go into all the hassles and heartbreaks that have occurred that have led me to say this, but it is too much. All right, so those are a couple of things that I need to keep in mind for this, this upcoming year and how it will be. I need to set up a better YouTube situation. I've been trying to make introductory videos, and yet I can't be, that guy, right, who's going to do his funny thing. I can't, play a cool album and make faces, about how great, it is to listen to this album, or I'm not going to do a lot of other things that are really successful in the YouTube scene. And I cannot bring myself to do it. So I have to make an introductory video that makes anybody want to subscribe. And I have to start doing stuff in the subscription form so that the people who subscribe get a thing that they don't otherwise, that nobody else gets. I already struggled with this for Patreon. I do things that I want to be putting out there. And it seems to me that either you sell them outright to all and sundry, or you make them available to all and sundry. I just don't see the reason of keeping any of that, private. So I've really struggled with that on the Patreon, and I kind of go in and out, about how well I handle it. And then now I have to think about that for YouTube. So if anyone has any freaking suggestions for that, there's some subscribers, there's new subscribers out there. That's kind of nice. I'd like to be nice back, but what on earth would somebody who subscribes to my nonsense on the internet, on YouTube, actually want? I'm supposed to guess? I'm not a very good guesser for that stuff. So, lay it on me. Tell me what on earth I'm supposed to do to the what am I supposed to do for the subscribers on the YouTube channel? Yeah, let me know. I'm fascinated, believe me, first in line to try and figure that one out. Now, anything else that comes to mind on this Friday Live situation? Watching stuff with my kids. First of all, there's reading with my kids, which I always do and which I like very, very much. At the moment, Don't Bite the Sun by Tanith Lee, reading it with my daughter, age 13. I really have been looking forward to doing this when I figured she's about the right age for this book, and she is, and it is just a delight. So much of pop culture since is really not much more than a footnote to Alfred Bester, The Star's My Destination, 1956, and Don't Bite the Sun, Tanith Lee, 1978. I swear, read those two and you're like, oh, so what else do I read? And it's pretty much a lot of footnotes to that. Other things too, yeah, but believe me, twin sons of the basics in those two books. So first one is the one that I think is highly specialized and highly appropriate for my daughter at age 13. And we are just past halfway through. I'm enjoying it tremendously. So doing that, watching Futurama with my son, Jonathan, is also something else, because this is a kid who completely gets it. He is so done with the kid story, the lesson story, the nice story, how we resolved this kind of story, and the good hearts. Do you see that Lightning McQueen didn't win the race because he thought what the right thing to do was? All those things, which are fine, and they all liked those kinds of stories, through their early days. And now he's just like, I am done with that nonsense. I want stories that that make you groan, that make you go, oh no, that make you say, yeah, it does suck, like that. And also full of discussable moments. Okay, so what does that explain? That joke, okay, in Futurama, right? They've got all the presidents' heads in jars, and of course, mishaps occur. The one with Richard Nixon falls over and breaks, and the head gets kind of free. And of course, starts biting somebody. And here I am watching, and I'm just doubling over laughing and going, of course, it's Nixon. Of course he's going to bite somebody. And the kids are like, what does that mean? And I'm like, let me tell you what that means. So there's lots and lots of stuff that's fun with that show in particular, considering too, watching it now and realizing again how much of the post-Simpsons cultural hip, sarcastic, dark, comedic but brutal, stuff. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. I mean, Rick and Morty and Archer and da 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 da, and you're like, oh, you're watching this, and I'm going, yeah, okay. This is where the language for that really gets codified. So anyway, having fun with that. The parenting is not half bad. Fun Christmas and New Year's, actually. Not without its moments of, exhaustion or aggravation, but really kind of a nice family come together for those things. Don't always get that. And this time. So here we are. It's mid-afternoon. And as you can see, it's not pitch black yet. So, hey, the year's turning around. All right. I'll talk to you later on, folks.